Ask Reddit. What was the most shocking thing you've heard the quiet kid say? In class, he asked a woman teacher if he could go to the toilet. She sternly replied, "You've got 2 minutes, Richard." And Richard says, 2 minutes? It takes me that long to unravel it. Teacher goes red and everyone loses it. That kid is an absolute legend. Richard for president. We were having a nonsense elective course and we ran out of stuff to do, so we wound up having story time. My friend walks up to the front and starts telling us about how he once got pretty badly injured. Basically, he was walking into his friend's house, slipped on some black ice, face planted on it, and his front teeth tore off most of his front lip and broke off. He ran into the house babbling and bleeding. He was like 11 and was missing part of his face, so he wasn't 100% coherent at the time. And his friend's mom takes one look, runs into her bedroom, locks the door, and doesn't do anything until my friend's dad arrives and starts screaming at her. My friend says he still has no idea why the grown adult woman couldn't handle the situation any better, and we all start making guesses and nonsense psychoanalysis. Cue the quiet kid raising his magnificent head and blessing us with enlightenment. Maybe she just needed to finger herself real quick. So this one kid who barely ever said 2 words, one day asked the teacher for the time. It was at some after-school thing and there was no clock. The teacher says the classic, "Time for you to get a watch," which for some reason was very funny to everybody else. The quiet kid doesn't laugh. He looks the teacher dead in the eyes, and once everyone quieted down, he says, "So are you going to tell me the time or what?" We're like in 7th grade. Can't blame him. Can't tell you how many times I've heard that stupid joke. In class, we're studying genetics, and one guy was being a real douche, and the teacher couldn't get him to shut up. Then after discussing inbreeding in dogs, one quiet kid raises his hand and says, "So, is this likely how Peter Douche became so retarded?" I've got a friend like this. I relate him to a sniper rifle. He doesn't make comments like that often, maybe once every month or two, but every one of them is damn glorious. It's an art. Most people then try to carpet bomb the conversation with forced jokes trying to get the same response. What if we killed everyone with cancer to stop it from spreading? You finally decide to speak and that is what you go with? This happens in my school all the time. You've got kids that just play on their iPad all semester, hardly paying attention, and then one day they come in with some stupid thing in the middle of a discussion. This douchebag kid who constantly messed with people was in line with the quiet kid and the quiet kid's friends. The quiet kid is a bit overweight, so when he gets up to the lunch lady and gets his chicken nuggets, the douchebag says, "You don't want extra nuggets, big guy?" The quiet kid out of nowhere just starts ranting. "No, I am all set, but what are you up to this weekend? You want to hang out and grab some food, maybe a bit? I like to be on top, and you look like a bottom. What do you say? You want to do something tonight?" The entire line is dead silent. The douchebag starts getting all pissed off and acting like he's going to start a fight, and the quiet kid says, "Okay, fine, you can be the top, baby." The douchebag kid leaves to the entire line laughing their asses off at his expense. No idea if the quiet kid was gay or he just knew that even jokingly suggesting the douche kid was a homosexual would upset him more than anything. But I do know he left the line with his delicious chicken nuggets and a huge smile on his face. Quiet guy I work with never said much until he came up to me and asked, "What happens when an Eskimo comes?" Before I get the chance to respond, he throws a handful of ice cream at me and walks away. It's so much funnier if you're normally a quiet person, which I'm not, but I'm still using this. In junior high in the mid-'80s, the game Trivial Pursuit was all the rage. We played it in math class one day, and this kid, Gary, who never said anything at all, totally spanked everyone else by answering every single sports-related trivia question. He got a lot of attention for it, and I believe he walked a little taller after that day. I don't think I ever heard him say anything else, but I did see him sitting on the bleachers at a few sports events. At school, having just shown me the scope for supposedly his sniper rifle. If the fire alarm ever goes off, you can't find me. Don't use the doors as an exit. Well, he was nice enough to warn you. The quiet kid from my grade school stood up one day, grabbed a broom, stood on a chair, and began trying to swat bees that got inside. One bee landed on the window where quiet kid proceeded to yell, "Die, bee, die!" and then swatted and shattered the window. He screeched when it happened and then sat back down. Never heard him speak again. That man is going to be Valhalla after a bee-related incident. One of my students hardly said a word all year until a couple of weeks ago. I was trying to get a group of talkative ones under control, and she said enough. She yells out, "Shut the up! I'm trying to work, you rude guys." Awkward silence followed, because I don't know how to handle the normally stupidious and quiet one losing it. I was like this in middle school. Not exactly quiet, but I never really socialized except with people right behind me in the form of asking for a pencil. One day the classroom douche happened to be more douchier than I could stand for, and I stood up out of my seat and yelled at him and sat back down. The entire class fell silent, but he never got that douchey again. I was best friends with the quiet kid in middle school. It wasn't so much shocking as the stupidest thing I've heard him say. He got this 1,000-yard stare all of a sudden and just said, "I can't remember what color my dog is." Similar to a friend of mine. The thing about rain is that it makes mud. My dad is very quiet, to the point that it makes most people uncomfortable, even me sometimes. One day, we're at the park and a woman walks past us and my dad quickly says, "What if I punched that woman in the face and said, 'Sorry, I thought you were my wife'?" That's my kind of humor. In high school, there was this really quiet girl named Grace. She was a pleasant person, but wouldn't say anything more than hi or sorry, unless you asked her something. Even then, she appeared terrified. It was at prom, and I was in the parking lot of the venue we had prom at. I lost the contact and had to run to my car to grab my glasses. In the parking lot, Grace was smiling and walking from her car. She looked at me, laughed, and said, "Ryan," her prom date, "just fingered out of me." I still laugh about it to this day. He started to attack someone in my class with a table when the teacher got a cup of coffee. That was quite something. Wait, he attacked another guy with a table? That's like a whole new level of pissed off right there. I was in a marching band in high school, probably 7 years ago now, and we had this huge muscular guy as our brass instructor. He would always yell at us to nail these chords, or "You're not playing loud enough." There was this little Asian trumpet kid that was so innocent and nice. He barely ever spoke a word. One really hot afternoon, our instructor was being especially loud and said, "Why don't the trumpets blow hard enough?" Dead silence across the field as all the brass are waiting the next instructions. Then we hear, "Why doesn't your mom blow this PP hard enough?" from quiet trumpet kid. Needless to say, we all laughed, got push-ups, and laughed some more. Wow, literally this question came at a perfect time. I was just thinking about this, and it was by far in sophomore year of high school. This kid was so odd that honestly no one ever really noticed him. But one day he's sitting across from me at a table, and he sees this one girl in really tight shorts and goes, "Damn, I could have my head up her ass for months." It was pretty shocking. Dude could have worn her like a hat. I went to middle school and high school with this boy named Daniel. Never once heard him say a word. A friend of mine said he would whisper sometimes. The night of our senior party, we heard some music coming over from the corner where the karaoke machine was set up. At first, no one really noticed him because people had been singing on it all night, and most people stopped paying attention. But this was different, because no one was singing and the music was playing. The DJ stopped the music and started the song again. Daniel was standing there looking frightened, but this time around, when the song started, he began to sing. Everyone in the room stopped what they were doing and just crowded around him. He wasn't a great singer by any means, but 99% of the people in the room hadn't ever heard him talk. When the song was over, everyone started clapping and cheering, and he walked away with a big smile on his face. In kindergarten, there was this kid, Donatello, and he never said a word. He was nice enough, played games and everything, but completely silent. One day we were looking out the classroom window as a cop drove by. Donatello opens his mouth and says, "Police car." At the time, we were all excited to hear him speak, but looking back, that kid must have had some real dark history. Living in a sewer with 3 brothers and a talking rat who forces you to do karate all day does that to you. In high school, I had first level Spanish with this kid who was super quiet. At the end of the year, we all had to give a speech in Spanish in front of the entire class. This kid stood up and gave a speech, not in Spanish, but in a language that he had spent the entire year inventing. Kid: "I've never heard you say anything loudly. You need to shout something out." Quiet kid: "What?" Kid: "Shout something." In the middle of the classroom, a full-blow, high-pitched roar is heard. Quiet kid: "Christmas!" It was a Muslim kid who didn't even celebrate Christmas. What a dude. Man, Christmas sucked for Muslim kids at school. Teacher would usually bring little gifts, get super paranoid that I'd be offended, and hasten to find something religiously neutral, as opposed to the gift everyone else got. Screw kaleidoscopes. Playing rugby, hooker fails completely at line-out. Someone shouts jokingly, "Does anyone know any good hookers to replace Patrick?" Quietest guy on the team, never hear him say anything. "Maybe Patrick's mom can help." Proceed to fall on floor. Aw man, hooker jokes. I miss rugby.